guys have probably never seen them, at least you've seen them.
Yeah. No, they've seen them. There's been enough going on during the summer. They've seen them. Question, I don't have much of a voice, so.
Well, overall impressions, you got to be pretty happy.
Well, I am pretty happy. It's a very impressive recruiting class. I mean, it gives us 5 outstanding players, all ranked in the top 100 in the country. We've got a little bit of everything we needed. We feel like we have one of the premier big men in the country, and Dunnigan, and he's got an opportunity to be maybe the best there is that's out there. We got a great shooter in Humphreys. We got a real skilled big man in Criddle. You got another really skilled great shooter in Wiley, and in Williams gives you probably one of the better athletes in the country as well too. So we just feel like everything we needed was answered. They're outstanding players. They're going to really fit in well in this community, in this institution. Our guys are really looking forward to getting them here.
How does it stack up against other classes in your gut?
Well, you never know until you can get guys here. I mean, it's hard to say they're better than this class and better than that class, but it's certainly it's one of the better classes that we've had here. And until you get them here, until they see how they adjust to college and being away from home and make a name for themselves, it's hard to stack them up against any class. Hopefully they're going to have their own identity and become their own class for themselves in terms of people looking at this group and saying, boy, look how great that group was, because there's some pretty outstanding players in that group.
Based on the guys you were going after, did you pretty good batting average getting the guys you wanted in this class?
These are the ones we went after, and they're an excellent group for us to have here. I think, again, it surprised a lot of people in the country because, again, they've come from afar to come here and everything, but they bring toughness, they bring skill, they bring intelligence, they bring size, they answer a little bit of everything that we needed. Losing that great class that's leaving out after this year, we feel like we have another great one coming in the door.
Ernie, in terms of the Chicago guys, how important was it for them to see how Malik and Tawan have adapted to life on the West Coast and say, hey, if Detroit guys can do it, Chicago guys can do it too?
Well, it's more for Jovan. I mean, those Chicago guys all know Jovan Catron, and to see where he's gone with his body, his game, his success, and certainly how well he's played in these first 3 games too. Jovan was a walk-in advertisement to be able to go home and say, you know, look at what goes on out there and look at who I am and everything else. So it was really, really important, I think, for those guys to feel comfortable with everybody on this team. So I think in the recruiting process of getting those guys here, everybody on this team was involved in the recruiting process when they came on their visits.
And then with Drew, obviously, it seems like every year there's like a diamond in the rough from a smaller school. I mean, this is a kid who was at McKenzie and they transferred to Thurston to play on the bigger stage a little bit in his senior year. But, you know, we go back to Luke and, you know, I mean, it just seems like the in-state guys, you find the diamonds in the rough a little bit.
Well, I think we find guys that fit our system, and he's certainly one that fits it. He's got the skill, he's got the size. I think he'll fit in nicely with how we play and everything, and hopefully he's that guy this year.
Any of the kids expected to potentially play next year?
All of them. All of them are good enough players they can step right in and play and help us, and they're going to be impact players here, every single one. And I'm just anxious to get them here.
What was the number one thing was there a common selling point you had with all of them? Was it the playing time? Was it success? Was it facilities? Was it a combination? What was it?
It's a combination of things. Our style of play, I think, is very unique in how we play and what we do. And even for our big guys to be able to run and get up and down the floor and just have the freedom to play the game. And those guys have a tremendous amount of freedom to play the game right now. And when they get to this level in this system, they're really going to blossom, is what I think, because of how we play here. Academics was another thing. The fact that Malik graduated in 3 years. Bryce and Marty are both graduated in 3.5 years. Mitch and Ray Schaefer have already graduated. I think we've shown to the parents that not only do we produce basketball players here that are good enough to play in the NBA with 4 coming out of the last 6 years, but also they graduate and leave out here with their degrees.
Ernie, talk about how competitive recruiting is. I mean, talk about this conference. I mean, it's kind of like the high times right now for the Pac-10. I mean, talk about when you're on the road and you're going up against all the coaches nationally, and you've got some big wins for Oregon right here with this class. But just talk about the competition level right now in this conference.
I think the competition for recruiting across the country, and especially this conference, is really, really tough. But when it was all said and done, when we could sit down at the table and list everything that we've accomplished here, and the fact it's only been 15 teams in the last decade that have gone to 2 Elite Eights, the 2 conference championships, tournament championship, the conference championship, the fact that you've gotten more players than any other program in the first round of the NBA the last 6 years, the fact that you're graduating your kids, the facilities, our football programs, everything is on such a rise here right now that there's a lot. And when you educate people on what's on the table here at Oregon, it makes perfect sense as to why to come to the University of Oregon.
You mentioned the Elite Eight. How critical was this last run to landing the kids you did?
Our phone literally started ringing on the bus after the Elite Eight game against Florida. And I think, again, when you sell people on how we play and the freedom that they have in the system, these are very talented athletes and very talented basketball players that I think want that opportunity to express themselves. And I love players, just love players that get on the floor and have the creativity and ability to express themselves and have such a passion for the game. And particularly when you talk about Humphreys and Dunnigan and Wiley and Williams, those kids, they have a passion to play at this level and a passion to want to play at that next level as well too. So I'm anxious to get all 5 of these guys here because I think they're going to do well with what we do and who we are.
Can you talk about Josh Criddle a little more, about what strength?
Josh is at 260. He's a load to handle in the block, but he's skilled enough. He's a terrific shooter from 15 to 18 feet. I feel like he has three-point range in his game as well too. He's an excellent passer. He's going to be a guy that gives us an opportunity to play a high-low system with him and Dunnigan in the game at the same time. And I just think they're two very, very skilled big guys that we're getting.
You talked about passion for the game. Where does that rate for you guys as far as when you evaluate these recruits?
It's huge for me because when you bring kids that kind of distance, that we cannot let them fail. They need to have success here, and that's very important to us that they have success. And in order for them to have that success, they've got to have a passion for the game to be successful here, because right or wrong, every team in this conference this year, NBA prospect on their roster, and maybe even 2. We have 2, 3, 4 of them right now, and in this group, we're going to be able to say that again down the road. So they have to have that hunger and that drive to get to that next level, because that's what's in this conference. So that passion is important, so they have success once they get out here, and we feel all these kids have that kind of hunger and that drive to be successful.
Kind of one of the hallmarks of Duke's success was, for a while at least, before the kind of change in the way basketball's as far as relates to the NBA, guys staying a while, and that goes back to Luke and Malik. Are we seeing that now, or is that, or you just been fortunate, or what do you think that is?
We have been fortunate, and only time will tell with this group if and who goes early and all those things. My job right now is to make the transition from them from high school to college as smooth as possible. My job is to make them as successful as they possibly can be out here, as people, as students, and just as importantly, as athletes and as basketball players. That's our job here now at the University of Oregon. That's what we plan on doing, and we feel like we have all the tools here to make them as successful as they want to be.
But Ernie, when you tout the academics and the record that you've had here academically it's been stellar. I mean, do you recruit that specifically? I mean, as opposed to, Tim Floyd has no problem with OJ staying 1 year. Okay, that's it. I mean, where do you come out on that?
No, I think if you have an opportunity to get a great player, I mean, there's probably the majority of us would take that great player knowing he was only going to stay a year. I think what we try to do is recruit student athletes, kids that want their degree. That's important to us. And again, Rittenauer came in, I think, with the mindset wanting his degree, but after 3 years, he was ready for the NBA, and he went out to the NBA. So I don't know what's going to happen within this group. My job right now is to feel that they're going to be here to get their education, and that's important to them and important to their families. But somewhere along the line, if they develop where they're good enough, the NBA comes in and puts millions on the tables, then that's a different discussion we're going to have.
Are they excited about the arena, or that's another? They might not be here when that happens, but.
Well, the arena is another piece to the puzzle that you put in your package when you talk about the University of Oregon and our fans, the fact that you're sold out and how successful we've been. You can put the arena, the training room. There's so much that we can put in a package when you walk in the door, when you talk about selling Oregon and who we are. And again, it's a very attractable sell, but when it's all said and done, these kids are coming here with the ideal to get a great education and at the same time play at that next level. And we feel like we have all the tools here in place for them to do that, from the style of play, the system, to our academics research, and all our centers going to be put in here, to a new MAC court that's going to be built here, to our training facilities, our weight room, our strength coaches, nutritionists. I mean, everything's on the table for them to be successful. They just have to come with the desire and willingness to get there. And I feel certainly like all 5 of them have that desire and willingness to be successful.
As far as recruiting goes, you've had success before, NCAA tournament runs, then there might be a lull. Do you feel like you're at the
in place where the continuity is there, but you won't know until these kids get here. You can't talk about the adjustment they're going to have to make from high school to college, coming the distance and all those things. Those are some unknown factors in there. If everything goes like we think it is, these kids are going to be really, really, really good, and hopefully in a very short period of time.
Thanks, Ernie.